this time, I'd like to call the Walhalla City Council meeting for June the 20th, 2023. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Thank all of you for coming tonight. Good to see you. Appreciate you being here. At this time, we'll have a brief moment of silence. Okay, next on our agenda is our Pledge of Allegiance. I'm going to ask Councilman Keith Pace if you'd like to lead in the pledge.
Yes, sir. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Make sure everybody's got their mics.
Everybody cut their mic on?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
before approval of agenda, I'd like to make a motion to amend tonight's agenda to add in discussion of a service contract.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you.
I have one item I'm going to add, but I'll do that at the end under mayor comments. But we can certainly do that, and we got a motion and a second. Is there anything else anybody wants to change?
I just had trouble hearing Mr. Pace. Can you repeat?
It's just to add discussion of a service contract.
Service
Yes.
contract. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Now that's to amend the agenda. Now to approve the agenda, can we vote to or have a
I'll make a
motion
motion to approve.
the amended agenda?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're good.
Yep.
Okay. Next item is approval of minutes. I've tried to read through these minutes. They were pretty lengthy. I'm sure everyone has as well. Is there anyone noticed that need to be changed?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Don't think there is any, so we're good there. Okay. Next item is public comment. If there's anyone here that would like to address the council, this would be the time. Yes, sir.
Hey, I signed up on this sheet as well.
Yes, sir. Go ahead and give your name, sir.
I'm Arthur Lucas.
Yes, sir. I knew that, but I wanted to make sure everybody else did.
Where
Does
should
he
I-
need to speak now, or would it be better if he talked with us when we
It would
voted?
be better under the discussion of action items. He can, if y'all have direct questions, you can
Okay,
talk then.
is that okay with
That's
you?
fine with me.
When we get to it on
Absolutely.
the agenda? We'll do that then. If there's anything else anyone wants to talk about that's not on the agenda, now's the time. Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. Let's go to administrator comments. Mr. Burton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have none. I'll reserve those for the next meeting.
Okay. Let's go to monthly administration and staff report. Mr. Burton, would you like to highlight anything there?
A little bit different format since we went to the one meeting a month. These will be published should be published every month. I already emailed those out at the first of the month, and this is just included in the packet for the record. I think thumbing through there, everybody will see that we've all been pretty busy. Try to highlight some of the few special dates and events. Some have already passed, but our planning for the Independence Fest is underway. We've got everything nailed down, so that itinerary is already out on social media and on the website as well. Probably the biggest thing is we did attend 2 meetings with RIA and ACOG for the SCIP grant. So we've already met with one of the engineers and another prospective engineer to get those projects on underway. They would like to have some type of contract action by October. I believe we'll be able to meet that. The other projects are clicking right along, as you can see there. I'm not going to run in. Police have been pretty busy. Public Works, Fire. I won't bore with all the details. But if you have any questions, I'll try my best to answer.
Has there been a groundbreaking set for the Greenway?
No, not yet. We're still working on mobilization. A few things with the contractor so he can get mobilized on site. Once he gets all these equipment in place and actual can schedule put together, we'll announce a groundbreaking, groundbreaking.
Are we still down a trash truck right now?
Yes.
The one that we got from Greenville?
Yes. Yeah, it's currently being worked on now. I've gotten an update this afternoon, so they tore into some internal stuff and trying to find out exactly what's wrong with it. So
Assuming I got a couple calls about delays like that day. I'm assuming that's what it was.
It was.
They're caught up on that probably by now.
it was, yeah.
Okay.
As far as I know, the last week's is everything's caught up.
Okay.
Mayor, I had a question in regards to the Walhalla Wanderweg Greenway.
Greenway,
Yeah. I'm not sure NTP stands for. What does that mean?
Notice to proceed.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Britton. Notice to proceed.
All right, any other questions on the administrator staff reports? Anything there? All right. Proclamations, resolutions, and ordinances. None proposed. First and final reading of resolutions. Let's go to resolution 2023-12. Can you fill us in?
Yes, sir. Thank you. This is resolution 2023-12. At the onset of last year, or this year, council has to publish a list of dates for meetings, and since we amended our ordinance on meetings, this just amends the rest of the year from May 16th to December, striking the committee meetings, noting that they can be called as needed, and then just reiterating the regular council meeting.
Okay. And all of you have a new list of when the meetings are. We can still call meetings. We may have some committee meetings, probably will have. But as it stands right now, unless we have a called special meeting, we'll only be meeting once a month. So, any other questions on that? Okay.
You need a motion on that, right? I'll make a motion to proceed on that resolution.
All right.
2023-12.
Okay, got a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second that one.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of that resolution? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I don't think there is any. Resolution 2023-13. Mr. Burton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This come out of our skip meeting with RIA and ACOG. We just need to affirm that we will comply with federal procurement regulations in regards to the skip projects, because this money is federal money that has been worked through the state. We're acknowledging that we received that money, that will obviously comply with FOIA, the Freedom of Information Act, and comply with other regulations that the federal have as far as non-collusion, not purchasing stuff from foreign nations that's been on the no purchase list, and that anybody that is dealing with a contract won't take bribes or anything like that. So,
Okay, do I have a motion on this one?
I'll make the motion
Okay,
on 2023-3.
A second.
motion and a second. Now we can discuss if we have any discussion. I kind of got away from that in the last one. Yeah, the guidelines are pretty specific. I would think all the contractors have to be approved on this as well, I would imagine, don't they?
they do.
Send those in.
Before we issue a notice to proceed or anything, we'll have to submit that to RIA. They'll have to approve them, make sure no one's been disbarred, they don't have any judgments or liens against them. They'll approve that, and then we'll be able to award the contract.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on that? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of resolution 2023-13, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Think there is any? We're good to go there. Let's move to second final reading and public review of ordinances. This has to do with ordinance 2023-16, building codes and construction. Public comment. Is there anyone here that would like to comment on this ordinance that we're taking up? All right, hearing none, we will move forward. Mr. Burton, do you wanna give a brief explanation there?
Yes, this removes the existing chapter and replaces it in its entirety. With this, it sets out some violation fines for it, creates the new building code process that we'll have, so we can have that in place. It requires us to follow the current South Carolina adopted building codes, which are the 2021 ICC codes with the state supplements. It gives all the administration parts that certain, not positions, but certain official capacities are created. It also creates the Board of Construction Board of Appeals. This will work like the BZA, so if the building official makes a ruling and the complainant feels like there's some sort of redress to make, they can bring it to the Board of Construction Appeals, and then from that it would go to circuit court if there's no agreement or a disagreement on that. So we'll be asking, upon its passage, we'll be advertising for folks to volunteer to serve on that board. It outlines the structure of the board, outlines our authority to collect permits and fees, lays out the application process, discusses land disturbance, the fees associated there, which y'all have already, should you adopt this tonight, the fees are already in place. They were adopted in our annual budget. There's a discussion on manufactured housing and unsafe structures, unfit dwellings. This will mesh with our vacant building ordinance as well. Outlines enforcement powers of the building official. So whomever that the city appoints as a building official This will be part of their guidance document along with the codes. This just grants them the authority to do that. Complaint procedures, things will be posted, the hearing process. If there's any specific questions, we can answer those.
All right, first, I think we need a motion.
I'll make a motion on ordinance 2023-16 to accept as described.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Open for discussion. Yeah, I spent some time reading this. It's a good ordinance and it will work well with that other one that you mentioned. There's a lot in here. Does anybody have any questions on anything on this ordinance?
I don't have a question. I'd just like to make a comment. So just for the public record that this is in-house permitting going forward with this ordinance passed. Everybody will come through City Hall to do building construction and that sort of thing as far as permitting instead of the county.
We're still, just to add to that, we're still putting the final touches before we release our online permitting thing. We're having to do some tinkering with our website to get those forms uploaded, and still working with our contractor. We have one on that we can retain through state contract. So we're
Very
still
good.
working some final details on that before we bring that forward.
Anyone else?
I guess just to add some clarity, in regards to that, this would be a dedicated staff member who have this position that would follow this?
No, we'll hire a contractor
Okay,
to
so like a third party,
yeah.
okay.
And I think the plan is like be designated one day a week
Yes.
to be here on site.
Okay,
But that will only be pretty much as questions and inspections.
Yes,
The
yeah.
rest of the paperwork,
Is
we
online.
will be able to do
online.
every day. Is that right? They
Yes.
can meet with somebody and set something up if there's an inspection.
They can submit their paperwork or they can upload it online. Obviously, it'll have to be looked at to make sure that what they're saying meets. So there'll be a small review period, and then they can meet with the building official to, if they have any specific questions.
Right.
okay,
There'll be somebody, if somebody comes in with a question, though, we're gonna have someone here for them to talk to.
yeah, sure.
We just may not be able to get them to answer everything that day.
Correct.
This would allow us more autonomy, I'm
Yes.
assuming,
Exactly,
with all
yes,
the.
yes.
Okay, so, just a hypothetical so that way I can understand it.
Mhm.
I'm a new builder, I'm in construction. I wanna build something in the city of Walhalla. I would need to go by this, which defines it on how I need to construct my building, my home,
Yes.
my property. Okay, just wanna make sure I understand
And
it.
there's lots more on the city website.
Right, this is just the,
as
okay,
well.
thank you.
All right, any other comments? Hearing none, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor of ordinance 2023-16?
Aye.
Opposed? Don't think there is any. That one's unanimous. All right, we're moving right along here. We don't have a first reading of any ordinance tonight. We're gonna go to discussion and action items. And I'm gonna turn it over to Brandon at this
Okay.
time. Mr. Burton, I'll let you go from there.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First item is, we'll have a mural, application, for 210 East Main Street, Free House Brewery, in Walhalla. This is the application that was submitted to Community Development, and on the back is the picture, of what the final product, is intended to look like. If you have any intimate, detailed questions, Ms. Myers here will be able to answer those, or if you have any of the building owner, you could ask those of him as well.
was you wanting to give us some input?
Absolutely.
You was asking to speak, so
Yes.
if you wanna come forward.
Absolutely.
Good time.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. My name is Arthur Lucas. And this is my daughter Sylvia and Eleanor Kimball. I've owned the state's only organic brewery for 10 years. I started the state's only organic brewery. I've been bringing these little angels up to vacation because low country gets hot up in this part of the world, Green County, for probably about 10 years. And it was always a dream of mine to be part of a Main Street revitalization. As you can imagine, Charleston's not rolling out the red carpet for another business to set up. I think we're one of 40 breweries. And very few places are. But it was sort of my dream to be able to bring our product to a place where I really aligned with like the ethos of the people, really loved the place, and felt like I could connect and help revitalize like a Main Street community. And I've had a chance to speak with a few of you individually about this as this project has been developing. One of the things, and this all does go back to our design and our mural, is that we came in and we were connected with the Main Street. The city itself connected me with the program you all have engaged with intentionally, which is Main Street. And that is all about revitalization. And they put out studies, which I'm sure you're more familiar with than I, where local brewery is probably the largest bubble in sort of what is needed to help revitalize and bring business to a downtown that needs and is wanting to pull more business in. So we stepped up to that challenge, and we're going to put Three House Brewery here. But we stepped up to it in the only way we know how, which is wholeheartedly with our complete heart and soul, and to put into every aspect of this project. We're an organic brewery. We want to bring revitalization. We're open to everyone. We need to signal that. The very first thing people think about when they see a beer is its label. Period. We all know that, right? Beer label has recently sunk America's best beer brand. Just got sunk by a beer label. That's how big of a deal the image is. That is our business. We need to communicate to people that we are alive, we are welcoming to you, and we are open. So to do that and reflect our organic colors, we've come up with a mural that is, by today's standards, pretty G-rated, I would say. And what it does is it evokes, doesn't evoke Halloween. It evokes three colors of nature: a blue, a green, and a yellowish. But as brewers, we're servants of the people. Okay, we have to serve the people, and to serve the people, we need to communicate with the people to let them know. And that's what this inviting, bright, organic sort of painting does. But let me just step back from the substance and apologize to everyone here for not getting a permit prior to starting work. As Mr. Burton will remember, we went through the permitting process with just about every single thing. I never started anything. I had a professional engineer, professional architect. I didn't do anything. I did flush the toilet, but we got a sewer permit before we did that. But we didn't do anything without a permit. And I'm actually an attorney as well. I don't practice law, but I'm barred where I went to law school in around Washington, D.C. I take the law very seriously. And I take these proceedings very seriously. So I want to apologize that we didn't do that. And it's really no one's fault but mine. So I really can't point the finger at anyone else. It's my job to tick every box. So we missed that box. So I apologize. And we'd like to work with y'all to find a way where we can sort of help revitalize and access these goals of Main Street, which I literally laid myself out on the line to do. I mean, I sometimes camp, or I slept in these safe the last time I was here on the ground. I'm an entrepreneur. It's in my blood. It's all I want to do. If we sort of jump onto the entrepreneurs and say, let this group of 10 people kind of fix it the way they want it to go. That didn't work in Russia. That doesn't. America's a great country because we have rules and then we let entrepreneurs go, and just throw our bodies at it. And that's really what I've been doing. I really want to work with y'all. I'm gonna serve you all. I promise. If any one of you come in, I would love to serve you a beer myself. It makes me very happy to serve people. Really excited to get open, and we've invested a lot. So, again, I'm sorry I didn't go through the process initially as we did with every other thing, although we did get a zoning permit, so I guess I kind of glossed over the fact that this needs to go back through zoning, and I apologize. But let me know what questions you have, and it's a holistic look. If there's something we can do to work together, I'd like to work with you. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. hold tight, we may have some questions here for you in a minute.
I'll do that, thank you.
Celia,
Yes, sir.
boy, I'm gonna throw you under the bus here. Explain where we are, if you can, as best you can. What does our zoning rules say as far as murals and colors, that sort of thing?
Each of you should have a copy of the Code of Ordinances in front of you. The section highlighted, starting on page 2, deals with our mural. Basically, they are allowed in our downtown overlay as long as they apply for a permit with City Council, which is what he is doing this evening. It does not regulate the content in and of itself. That is free from evaluation, but it does regulate from a signage point of view the size, how we calculate the logo part that does reflect the business itself. So the sign, that would be calculated against what we allow for any other sign in the district. We do want it to blend and be harmonious with our neighboring properties, as this is within the downtown overlay, so we want it to match our downtown design guidelines. Those are, I don't have a copy of those for you, I can go get them if you need them. But in that, we do have spelled out certain colors in a color palette that we want to make sure that anyone who decides to put something up or to paint a building in the overlay, that it will fall within that palette. Let's see what else. We do ask that the council consider the design and scale and the location. And then, of course, the maintenance will be responsibility of the property owner. So it does need to be maintained if it is approved.
So with the color scheme, have y'all looked into that? Is there any conflict there?
The colors do not currently meet as presented. I have already talked with Mr. Lucas on that, and he's aware that there may need to be a slight adjustment.
Okay.
To make sure that they do fall within the color palette.
Okay.
I mean, personally, I was a little concerned, but seeing the finished product, it looks a lot better than what I was trying to imagine that it was going to look like. My only question is, the signage part of it, is that within the size?
You can do a quarter of the front.
Right.
So we'll calculate it, but it does appear that if it does not meet it, it's very close. I count that as a sign.
I can affirm that, you know, it certainly would pull it back to the 25%. If there's a issue there, we have no problem with it.
Would you like to discuss the color palette?
Sure.
Do you have a problem with that?
You know, we're all looking at computer screens, and then you're comparing it to like kind of what comes out in reality, kind of two different things. I've done a ton of design work over the last 10 years. You know, I would say that if you could, I'm not certain that the blue and the green are off. I know that there's a yellow currently on there that's supposed to be the hop. Does anyone have a copy of what was presented? So the hop, the reason why what's on the building now, if you were to drive by, it looks yellow because it had to be stopped. But it will look, so if you evaluate those, some of them may be more vibrant. I mean, we could definitely kind of, we haven't finished doing the hop, so we can, if you tell me which sort of green, you know, there's a darker green in the Benjamin Moore historical palette that could work for that. And so how would we get with y'all? I mean, because maybe I'm colorblind, you know, I mean, and I'm not joking. I mean, I think in 10 years of running a brewery, people got to see colors differently, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and I just want to open for business. I want people to know that we're Free House Brewery, that we're different. I mean, we're trying to change Walhalla, right?
Yeah. Well,
we're trying to make it like more vibrant. Like that's what Main Street's about. And
we
so,
just I think we just wanna try to stay as close to our color palette as we can.
And so how can we do that?
I would think you'd just work it out with Ms. Myers if, is that agreeable for you and him, just try to work something out on the colors?
Of course.
Hey, Ms.
Yeah.
Myers, how shall we do that? What would be should we go like take the swatch to the wall or something and try to match it, or?
We can do that yeah,
Okay.
I'll meet you over there.
Okay, I have your number, we'll connect, I have to leave Friday, but we can get to work.
Alright.
Thank you.
And I would like to point out, like Mr. Lucas said, the picture is somewhat misleading because he's got the garage door front now, so actually
Right.
that whole thing isn't painted, so you're just seeing a computer generated thing, so.
Does anyone else have any comments or questions?
Well, it's visible. You know, and I'm glad the business is coming because I think that's what we need downtown. I really do. I think that's a growing thing now. Compared to everything else from the palette of downtown, it's just, whoa, kind of thing. But I think we can work that through maybe, so, but again, I think having the business come in is gonna be great.
Absolutely.
I really
Yeah,
do.
I'm very appreciative that you chose Walhalla to put your business,
You go to all the
spend a
other
lot of
towns,
money.
right, Cashers and all these
I've
places.
driven through every single one of them. I have rejected $300,000 in interest-free loan from a town I won't tell you about that's an hour and a half from here. I have looked all over the place. My aunt and uncle live on the lake. My mom's from here. She'll be here tomorrow to check out the brewery. You know, I believe in this place. I frankly wanted to buy a little farm up here. Instead, I was like, I started a second brewery. It's like,
Maybe the farm will come later.
not the way prices are going now.
All right, question, what do you need from us tonight? What, do we need to approve the design
The
with
permit.
We need to approve the permit, right? Is that what you said?
the permit with the, idea that y'all can work out your differences, so.
We will meet and on
Yeah.
record and as whatever works for Ms. Myers, and I'm here for 4 days to talk about it.
Good.
Okay.
All right, does someone want to make a motion on that then?
I'll make a motion to approve, Mr. Lucas's permit for his mural.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Is there any other discussion?
It's just comments that I wanted to add.
Sure.
I appreciate his acknowledgement of being in alignment with what we want in the future when it comes to investing businesses in our community. Coach Woodward, you said it was very visible. I would say yes, it's very attractive. It's very colorful. But I think it reflects back to the intentions that he has as the owner of this building to move forward, to reflect back to what it's based on, right? Did you say it was organic beer? Okay. And it just also reflects the agriculture that we are surrounded by. Our county is considered one of the agricultural communities. So I guess as soon as I was just reading, because I got the, I didn't get the paper one. I couldn't find it. Maybe it's someone here. But I got the one online, so I'm not looking at the guideline, the palette that we're all referring to. I'm looking at the actual ordinance zoning. So as long as we're in compliance with that, which I think we are in legally, I think the guidance tablet or book, whatever you're going to refer to, obviously it's going to be a working progress, right? Because there's an artist that's involved as well, right? The contractor that has to finish this. So let's get it going as soon as we
I
can.
can't remember the color palette exactly, just seemed to be
Well, there's a lot to it.
softer colors maybe than that, but if that's something you can work with, you know, I'm
And I think think that's a guideline, or what do you call it, guidance book? What is it?
The design guidelines.
It's a design guideline, so it's not actually a legal document, correct?
It is.
We adopted that as
Mhm.
a.
It was adopted, to be enforceable.
Recently.
So we don't have an actual
We
procedure
updated the
on how to
palette,
go,
Yeah, the colors.
but so this
Right
is our,
before I got on, right after I got on.
I'll stop talking so I can hear what
Sorry.
you're saying. What were you saying?
He was asking about the,
When we adopted it.
yeah, and we
Oh, okay.
updated the colors and stuff in it, I think, maybe last fall.
Correct.
And I
So
guess just for
legally-
the record, this is our first time moving this direction where there has to be some adjustment, right? Did we have another mural in the past that we had to do some color palette?
I don't think so.
Okay, so
Oh.
it's case by case?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, if we can move forward with, as we are, I just wanted to make those comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Anything else? All those in favor of the motion to allow the mural permit, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? There's not any, so we're good to go.
Go back and get to work, Mr. Lucas.
And we wanna trade for the two girls in the deal.
Never mind
They're
dead body
precious.
on, the record. No, they're gonna be, maybe they'll work there one summer, so.
They'll be an asset, I'm sure. Nothing like little girls. All right, thank you. Appreciate you coming.
Mr. Mayor, if I could make one comment, just
Yes.
something to think about in the future. Under item 7, these mural permits come before council. In the,
What page?
let's see here,
Let's see.
page 3 of 3, it's item 5, I'm sorry, item 7 on the last page. It just talks about the mural permit coming to city council. Since y'all meet once a month, you still have the option of scheduling something, but something that myself and staff talked about is maybe in the future, as we get more of these, y'all have already laid out the guidelines. If y'all want to consider having staff approve that, because staff already does approve signs and things of that nature, they could appeal to the planning commission and then ultimately appeal to council. It might make it a little bit more workable for a business owner. That way staff could approve it as long as y'all, I'm
I
sure
agree.
there'd be some language tweaked, so it would give, staff more guidance. But I think you've already laid some things out. Obviously, if it needs to, it would come before y'all, but just something, down the road, maybe something to think about.
I would wholeheartedly suggest that y'all, you and Ms. Myers come up with the language that would need to be changed, and let's amend that ordinance. Does everyone
I
agree
agree
with
too,
that?
that's what
Yeah. This needs to be a little simpler process.
I just hate for somebody to have to wait, a month or possibly 2 months for somebody, since staff's already approving, signs and things of that nature that are somewhat permanent. I think we're in the direction that staff can make that decision. Obviously, it could get appealed to planning commission, et cetera.
Okay. Next item, action item is our discussion on CPAT. And Mr. Burton, I'll turn that over to you.
I'll briefly introduce that and let the planning extraordinaire, Ms. Myers, go over that. As you know, the city did get a grant for the planning team to do some planning around town. It was really worked through the Main Street Board, and I appreciate Main Street support. And I asked them to send us either a letter or some sort of means of support after they reviewed this CPAT report. So they have adopted a resolution just affirming their support and asking for city council's support and implementation as well. I believe her name was Shay that came and did go over the CPAT with y'all. Here is again is the presentation. Ms. Myers can again answer any detailed questions that you have, but we just wanted to bring that to your attention tonight.
For the sake of our audience, CPAT stands for Community Planning Assistance Team, and Ms. Myers, if you would give just a brief description, for those that are here of what has taken place, if you don't mind.
Of course. Yes, sir. The CPAT, Community Planning Assistance Team, as you just stated, is a it's a nonprofit organization, the state chapter of the American Planning Association. They will offer pro bono service to communities that don't have either planning staff or maybe they still need some additional planning assistance. This was applied for and awarded prior to my coming, otherwise we wouldn't have been eligible for this. But they decided it was a worthy project, they wanted to proceed with it, and therefore we did. Back in January on the 28th, the team led a public charrette over at the Earl House on Main Street, Waha offices, and we had over 20 individuals come out to give their input on what they would like to see dealing with connectivity, programming, and then built features for the Kaufman Park Depot area that included the Earl House all the way over to the train right-of-way and the park itself. Through the report, they have it broken down into those three sections that they asked for input. The first one being connectivity. This one specifically talked about not just connecting the individual locations, because we do have streets that divide it, but also connecting it to Main Street. So you're bringing the individuals who may walk or patronize Main Street back down to the park area. In there, the top three things that the community told us was sidewalks, crosswalks, and the South Catherine Street block, the road itself, which y'all have already approved, making that one lane. So we're already moving in that direction. The next section, dealing with programming and activities, we received a lot of comments. This was the most popular section that we had. A lot of people had a lot of ideas of what type of outdoor activities and festivals they wanted to see. Overwhelmingly, they did want to see more. They wanted to see a variety of them. And then also different things that could be placed there to make it more usable on a day-to-day basis. And then as far as the built environment, what they would like to see, as far as a man-made structure that's placed there to make it usable, anything to make it more of a concert space, amphitheater, and then a farmer's market. They did include everything that was listed from the public within this document. They just took the top items and the ones that they thought best fit the area and were actually something that we could accomplish. And they gave us some short, mid, and long-term goals dealing with that. Those are included. All of these will be included in the upcoming comprehensive plan. That doesn't mean that we will implement every single one of these if you approve this tonight or in the future, but we will take this input and include it in there. And it is a good, solid document to give us a direction of where we may wish to go for this property in particular.
It's a good visionary.
It is quite a document.
It's
I've
quite a
been-
vision
Great
too.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah, that's what I'm just saying. It's got so much information, so many things that could really make a difference. And a lot of them, yeah, some of them would be expensive, but not all of them.
Correct.
There's a lot of things that it talks about that could be done pretty easy.
Cecilia, were they talking about changing the parking on Main Street? The drawing shows them parallel parking places, and I know we have angled.
No, sir, not on Main Street, but on South Broad, right in front of the park
Okay,
itself.
I'm sorry.
It's actually
Yeah,
wide
I got you.
enough that we could stripe it for on
Okay.
And on College Street.
as well, yes,
Okay.
sir.
Mhm.
I got you. You're right. All right.
It's just, it's really neat. A lot of good suggestions. Do we need to make a motion to, approve the resolution or accept the information? I gotta pull it back up here. I got past it.
Probably, to accept the information, direct staff to incorporate it in the comprehensive plan, things of that nature, whatever. Thank us for our time and move on. It's, really, we're just looking for your direction on whether, to implement this, to start a study, to see, a feasibility study, to see if y'all wanna implement any of these things, or simply, put it as elements in the comprehensive plan.
I don't know about the rest of it, but like the street crosswalks and striping and that sort of stuff, I mean, that's stuff we can do. It'd be nice to have direction and go ahead and, start planning on some of that. Some of the long-term stuff sure should be in the comprehensive plan, but I think some of the stuff we could take advantage of now, or soon.
And I'm sure you can prioritize the
Right.
smaller things and, as well. We're just looking for your
Would
direction.
you like to make a motion to accept this and to come up with an implementation plan to that effect?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to go ahead and accept this, the recommendation of the CPAT and come up with a plan, get some
Yes.
direction
Yeah,
and make
put
a
it
plan.
as part of our comprehensive plan, and then
Mhm.
we can try to move forward and get an idea of when we can put some of it into boots on the ground, rubber on the
Well,
road.
Ms. Myers can she can look at this and know what we can do in-house and what we can't, and make recommendations back to council on what we can move on and what we can't.
All right,
I'll second that motion.
motion and a second. Is there any question or discussion, council? Hearing none, all those in favor of this motion?
Aye.
It's all positive. It's just good stuff.
I mean, that was a $50,000 value study that they did for us, and we need to take every advantage of that we can.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Item 3 on action items, discussion of historical designation for gym and memorial field. Mr. Burton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was reached out by Janie Campbell with Rogers and Lewis. They work with the State Historical Preservation Office and the Park Service on the Register of Historic Places. And they were looking at, as you well know, the Hotel Alum. Their building is past the first process of being placed on the National Registry. With the next door, the Civic Auditorium being on that, the Park Service and SHPO has recommended, reached out to the city to see if we would be interested in placing the gymnasium and memorial field on that registry as well. That way, there's essentially a district of buildings there. She did assure me, and I believe in the letter that it doesn't, for this instance, it doesn't place any restrictions on it. So if we have to do any major repairs, there's no restriction on that. If we want to bulldoze it, there's no restriction on that, because I did have that conversation. Said if we put this in place and something, and she said, nope, they've had other jurisdictions do that. They've created this district, and for whatever reason, it needed to be tore down. As she states in her letter, this is an honorific designation, so it would help the owners and developers of Hotel Alum as well. And it lets, the Park Service know that there's other protected areas around, and it's within a district boundary.
So help me understand, is this like included in our historic ordinance or the national?
No, this is separate. This will be national.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can have a national registered building with those stipulations? Interesting.
What would be a benefit to be on the national?
It
Is there
would-
any credit?
It wouldn't offer us any credits, but it would offer us grants and other things that would just put more points in grant applications, for historic structures.
Is there a cost to be part of this?
No.
I noticed that she was scheduling to come and visit. Did she look at the building?
Yes,
And
she's
other-
already been,
Oh, okay.
yes.
What was her visual, like, her input on that? What was her report on that?
She did not submit a report. She just looked at it and said it would meet the criteria of being listed. And thought what an amazing building it was. So
I think it'd be a step in the right direction to try to do this, because in the long run, I think what we all want is see that building and that memorial field preserved, and this is a step in that direction. I think it would be a good thing.
How does the Park and Recreation staff feel about it?
they're okay with it, given our news that we got last week and this week. So we'll be transitioning hopefully to a newer facility. So they're okay with it. It won't impede their operations.
All right, so do we need a motion to
That-
do this?
That way I can tell her that council's okay with it.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right.
I still have a question. And I was a little excited about this because the way I thought I understood the National Registry, it preserved the building and it couldn't be torn down. And this was, in my eyes, was a way of protecting this property down the road from future council or whatever, you know. But it does not.
The keyword's honorific.
Yeah. I mean, I still support this, but I was just, I'm
It doesn't hold
confused
any
learning
weight.
news about, that I did not know.
So are you saying it doesn't hold weight?
Well, not the way I thought it would.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah.
So, I mean, I still support it. I just,
Yeah, it can't hurt.
absolutely not. It can help the surroundings too.
What about the current historic, can that be under that as well? Our local one as well,
Yeah, you could,
as a city?
yeah, you could put it on there. Put it on the city register as well.
Oh,
Yeah, there's things, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but there are things we can do if we want to get it on the state preservation. There are things that, there's options we have, is that correct? That it would limit what we could do as far as how we might possibly did repairs and that sort of thing. The only thing is, we've done most all the repairs, so, that's pretty well taken care of. But the other thing we can do, at some point, if the city sells this building, is we can restrict to where they cannot tear it down. I think we could be sure of that up to a point. other options there, and I think that's what everybody wants, is they want to see the building through. So we got a motion and a second. We discussed, is there any other questions? Anybody have any thoughts?
Does this have any effect on possible new rec building, ball, basketball court, something like
Anything else?
And it's really including the parcels themselves, not the building per se. Again, honorific is the key word there. So you're just bringing those parcels in there. You're not restricting the structure. If you wanted to take that step, we would have to apply a SHIP.
All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Don't think there is any, we're good. Alright, discussion of proposed water ordinance, and sewer ordinance, Mr. Burke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an amalgamation of our two water and sewer ordinances. We've got separate ones currently listed in the code of ordinance. After talking with Scott, this has been about a 2-year process. We wanted, because a lot of definitions are the same, they refer to each other, we wanted to join them together. So there's some updated definitions in there. There's actual water meter damage or improper removal. The rate is $250, but we did actually put the actual cost of repairs this time because of no it's gone up, so coverage have went up. Meters have went up, so everything is a little bit more expensive now. They're fluid, so we want that leeway to be able to charge actual costs. So that is in there. That's the big change.
The meters themselves cost more than that. They do.
And the other thing is, the big elephant that I will point out is in section 319. Everyone has discussed our budget, our future budgets, how we can increase revenue for our footprint. We're recommending that there's an item in here adopted those requests of city services, completed contract services, and then as a condition of that service, should be a land change, customer agrees to compensation.
What do you mean by land change?
So,
That automatically the city will annex that as a property. That's what you said. You said setting up
a lot of places are doing this. It's a way to grow footprint, obviously inside, consideration over outside, over also at the home tax inside. You get different services, police protection. Several pros and another cons. Pretty much everything else is staying the same. This is just for your information. We'll take this and work on it